All right, all right. Hey, everybody, welcome to the WP Engine Leveling Up with Ecom webinar for our APP partners. I'm Matt. I'm with our APP program, and just want to welcome everybody as we get going here. We've got an exciting panel that's going to be joining us today as we kind of walk through ways that you as an agency can maximize your projects, your customers for all things ecom. We're joined by two of our leads on our technical solutions team, Win Tong and Jeremy Jones, as well as our very own expert from product marketing, Josh Daly. So without further ado, we'll get going. We've got a little bit of content here for the next about 15 minutes, and then we'll get into a Q&A with our technical solutions expert. So if you have any questions along the way, feel free to jump here in the chat, and we will get going. Thanks. So Josh,
Right
I'm
on.
going to turn it over to you.
You're going to turn it over to me to walk through the agenda here. Thanks for having me join. I'm Josh Daly. I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona. I am the product marketing manager for our e-commerce solution here at WP Engine and have been in the commerce hosting space for the last 15 years. So really excited to talk about this, especially as we're rolling up on the busy season for e-commerce. So let's take a look at the agenda here. We're going to walk you through monetizing with e-commerce. Then we're going to look at some of the features in our e-commerce plans and how you can be leveraging those for your agency, for your merchant clients, and hopefully to make it a win-win for both you as an agency and your customer base. Then we're going to go into that AMA with my colleagues here. Excited to have them in the room. They're the smarter ones for sure. So I'll let them do most of the talking around that, speaking into our product and the practical applications of that. All right, so let's take a look at this next slide here. First of all, I wanted to jump in by looking at really there's three key e-commerce goals that every store has. When you think about an e-commerce site, everybody wants to sell more. It's all about increasing conversions. And they want their products easy to find, so making their products discoverable in search. And they want full control, so they want it to be simple to manage and maintain their site. And these are things that we've found, of all other goals that you could have as an e-commerce solution out there, these are three that are consistent across the board for every merchant we've talked to and their agency and the developers that are working on them and how they can manage it. But specifically around that full control, it's like they want control. We want to give you full control, but also the merchant themselves don't really want to have to think about it. They want to just be able to go in, add their products, sell their products, work on marketing and that kind of stuff. And so we've built some solutions that are beneficial to that. But before I go into those solutions and how that works, let's talk a little bit about the art of commerce. And something that is important to note here is that not all websites are created equal, which is something that we've talked about, and specifically around static and dynamic content optimization. What we found is that if you try to go in and apply the same type of optimizations that you would to a WordPress hosted site, your standard WordPress hosted site, it's very different than optimizing for a WooCommerce site. Even though the foundation is the same, the content is not the same. The way that that content is being delivered is not the same. And you start getting into something we're calling dynamic optimization here. And those two things need to be accounted for. So if you go in and try to apply the same types of optimizations around caching or the same types of optimizations around performance that you would just to increase page speed, you might break functionality on a WooCommerce site that you wouldn't otherwise have on a standard WordPress site. And so that's something that's really important to note. If you're working with customers, you want to sell them on this idea that I'm having to do something different. I'm customizing the solution for you, the fit for you. This is a way that we're helping you as an e-commerce merchant to be able to sell more, is that we're going to optimize, and we know the things. I'm an expert here, and we know the things that are going to make it sell for you. So that's one thing you're going to want to do. The second thing that you want to do is measure buyer journey, not just page speed. So a lot of times what we see happens, especially with just a merchant brand working on building out a site, is they'll go in and they'll just run a page speed test on that home page, and they won't realize that a lot about conversion optimization takes place further down the funnel. Once you interact with that cart, what's happening with my caching then? What happens when I'm interacting with multiple customers at the same time? Those types of things. So you want to be prepared as an agency to be able to show the value of your product back to your merchants by saying, hey, it's not just that homepage that we have going fast. We've got you running fast throughout the entire buyer journey. The next thing that you want to think about is that merchants invest in growth. If I was going to help you with anything in selling on getting e-commerce customers, they're not just thinking price conscious. They're also thinking about, will this have a return on investment for me? If I pay for this, is it going to result in more sales and better growth for my business? And so think towards that end, and not always just trying to undercut yourself as an agency and become, a race to the bottom, but really showing that there is a growth value in the investment here for the customer. And finally, be thinking about concurrency and high traffic events. This is really important for you. Plan for the growth of your customer, because you could build something out that's awesome on one server or on one type of infrastructure, and you can be optimizing for that, but you get a massive rush of traffic. Does your customer do drops? Do they do Black Friday events? Do they have big end of year sales? You want to be thinking towards those things as well, and not leave them in the lurch if they get a massive surge in traffic at that point. So these are some things that we had in mind as we were building out our e-commerce solution, and I'll show you how we can help you with those things on this next slide here. But our e-commerce plans are built to make you the hero. As an agency, we want you to be able to go in and handle these different nuances that we just discussed. And so we have something we call EverCache for WooCommerce. This goes beyond the standard functionality of our EverCache solution that we have. It's our proprietary cache functionality. That's just a toggle control, but we are actively maintaining this, changing the rules, making it better all the time. And if you know anything about performance optimization, you know that it's an art and not a science. It's when things change as technology evolves, you have to continue to evolve, and that's where you've got a team behind you like WP Engine, being able to make your store faster and continuing to improve on that iteratively as time goes on. The other thing we have is live cart. This is not just, like I said in that last slide, one shopper, but think about when you have 40, 50 shoppers using the cart at the same time. And live cart addresses what cart fragments in the WooCommerce script cannot. So this keeps you so you don't have to sacrifice performance for functionality. You get the best of both worlds with live cart. Then instant store search, obviously this is going to help you increase conversions for your customer. You can help them to set up a much better search experience than what the default WooCommerce and WordPress search can offer by just database. This offloads all those search queries for you. Then we have Smart Plugin Manager. This is really for you as the agency. This is going to keep the site secure by automating that, and Smart Plugin Manager, if you've went in to purchase that for a specific site, you know that can rack up with our e-commerce plans. The Smart Plugin Manager licensing is included on every single one of your sites that you put on that server. So if you're a reseller, this is going to be big for you. And then I had a couple of add-ons that I wanted to call out because I don't think they get enough recognition, especially in this season as we're going into the holiday rushes in November and December. Is Smart Scale. This is an add-on specifically for our partners who are on annual plans, but this is a way that you can ramp up your server size, scale up your server size for an allotted period of time. So if you do see a huge influx of traffic and you're needing those additional resources, you can get that in a 15-day increment or a 30-day increment, and you don't have to worry about scaling up your entire server by actually switching your plan. You could just do that for allotted periods of time. Like I was talking about before, this is especially valuable for like those drops, those big drops that a customer might do, or a Black Friday event. And finally, application performance monitoring. This is going to increase your visibility into the performance of your customer sites. So that's the information about our e-commerce plans, and maybe some tips for helping you to be able to sell more to your customers, and to really show them value as well, the value of your offering as an agency. But I'm going to turn it back over to Matt to lead us into maybe a Q&A time now.
Awesome. Josh, thank you for covering that. It's a great checklist of not only like what to consider for ecom, how to think about ecom tune plans, and then some pro tips along the way from a world-class specialist in this. As we're thinking about other considerations, I just kind of wanted to open up to you three. When really, maybe for like at a high level, like what are the top three things that a customer needs to go check, or that an agency is going to go check for their customer as we kind of go in the holiday season? I'll kind of open that up to any of you three.
Yeah, I can take that one. So the first few things to consider whenever you're thinking about holiday season, spikes in traffic, am I prepared for this? Am I going to be able to actually complete these orders that are hopefully coming in for people making all these holiday purchases? The first is, have you actually thought about how much your traffic is going to increase during the holiday season, right? What is your traffic at now? How much could it potentially go up? And there's a couple of ways you can check that. Obviously, Google Analytics from past years, if you have that data, is going to be really helpful, understanding what kind of percentage it might go up. The second is based on that information from potentially Google Analytics, or just whatever anticipations you made, is your plan that you're currently set up on prepared to handle that level of traffic as well. So those are the first two things we're always going to recommend you check. How much traffic am I expecting to increase by? And then am I prepared for that level of traffic? And then the next thing to really look at is just, have I made all the potential optimizations that I can make to my website leading up to this? Have I done all of the caching improvements I can possibly make? Have I checked New Relic and application performance monitoring to make sure that my site's performing at a level that I need it to? Is there anything else I could potentially be looking at to make sure that I'm going to be prepared for this? And if you're ever not sure about the answers to any of those questions, just don't be afraid to talk to the account manager you already have here at WP Engine. Reach out to them. We can help you guys do a health check of that website and make sure you're actually prepared for the holiday season. That way, when the time comes and people are excited to be making purchases at your website, you're not in a situation where you're not prepared for it and you're potentially losing out on conversions, sales, etc.
That's a great one. Josh, would you have anything to add for that?
No, it's mostly around, like, I think that the biggest miss we've seen is when people don't account for concurrency, which is something that Jeremy kind of touched on there. But that seems like the biggest miss is when we try to just see people testing for when traffic's not there, and they're like, everything's running great, and then all of a sudden a big surge hits like that. And so be sure that you're testing for concurrency and not just for like the normal time.
Yeah, it's a really great point, Josh, because the one thing people don't think about when it comes to concurrency really often is the understanding that, maybe you have a plan or a website that can handle, 10,000 visitors a day very easily, right? But that's if you're anticipating a steady stream of traffic. But when that stream turns into, a rapid or a waterfall instead, all of a sudden, even though the volume is the same that you're dealing with, now we're in a situation where it's happening all at once. And that can mean you really need to increase the amount of resources you have available or the optimizations you're making to your website.
Yeah, that's actually a great question from Charles along the lines of concurrency. Would you recommend like any tools in terms of that load testing? There's that adage, if you build it, they come. The challenge is if they come in mass and you're not prepared for it, that's a big problem. Any way to kind of get ahead of that or think about testing?
I can definitely jump to that. And our team have 2 or 3 go-to load testing service that we recommend to our customers. And this is where that data from Google Analytics come in really handy. If you have that historical data, you can just do an estimation, maybe add a little bit more overhead of like, hey, maybe we're going to do much better this year in terms of traffic, and then go into these services and start testing out this concurrent with load tests and see, okay, maybe the current servers that I'm on is not be able to handle this concurrency. You just talk to perhaps WP Engine and see where they can fit on. And we do have a link on that on how to properly do a load testing on your server. And I can link that into the chat as I find it.
Awesome. Harry asked a really good question as we think about re-platforming. Any general advice of moving a customer from an old Magento store over to WooCommerce? What are benefits of moving? What are considerations kind of keep in mind? Any gotchas or best practices along those lines?
I don't have anything specific for Magento to WooCommerce. That's not a transition we see super often. What I can tell you is just some kind of general advice, though, as whenever you're setting up in a new host and making sure that you're set up for success in general. First is just, consider what data, information, and content you're moving over from this old infrastructure to the new one. Do I actually need everything here? A lot of times when people are performing a migration, they just kind of tend to do, it's here, so now we're moving it over here. Do you actually need all of that content? Do you actually need all of this data within your MySQL database? And if the answer is no, consider doing some cleanup along the way. It's just like when you're moving from one house to another, you tend to throw out all the old stuff you don't need anymore. And the same thing really applies to websites here. So just make sure that you're not holding on to old content, old stuff you just don't need that's going to bog you down over time.
Awesome. Yeah. So avoid being a hoarder of tech or additional bloat. That's good. We talked a little bit about concurrency on that side as well. Any other like must-tip add-ons in terms of thinking about ecom? It could be PIM in terms of product catalog, could be internationalization for language components. What are some of the unsung heroes for add-ons as you think about an ecom use case?
I mean, for me, the winner to that question is always going to be New Relic and application performance monitoring. If you want data on how your website performs when it's getting the most traffic it's ever seen, the best way you can possibly do that is going to be New Relic. Google Analytics is going to give you a lot of insights into how much traffic you've gotten, the bounce rates you've seen, conversions, and that's all incredibly valuable. But if you're not seeing the performance you expect at those times during that level of traffic, it doesn't really do you any good. So make sure you're keeping an eye on New Relic. Look at those peak traffic levels and see if your overall AppDex score is going up, down, if it's holding steady, things like that. Just make sure that you're performing up to the standards that your customers expect.
Love it.
Yeah, application performance monitoring is not just for your typical WordPress site. You can build custom dashboards for the e-commerce use case specifically. We had a really cool talk on that. I'll try to pull the link for that from YouTube, but we had a really great talk at that in our Decode sessions that we had earlier this year from one of the reps at New Relic who kind of walked through setting up a WooCommerce dashboard.
Love it. Awesome. Josh, you had highlighted the aspect of smart scale when you kind of think about different periods of time to either get ready for a flash sale or get ready for an additional traffic spike. It seems like kind of there's a theme there. Any examples of where you've seen that kind of go into play of, are maybe maximizing for a Black Friday and minimizing after that Cyber Monday traffic? Any examples could come to mind of the things you've seen?
Yeah, the biggest one for us was we helped out a customer last year in particular, who was getting ready for a major event where they were giving out a digital download. And just before that, they needed to address performance issues and make sure that they were up to be able to handle that. And so I would just say, before you send that first blast out, if you're expecting and anticipating that, you reach out to our team, and they can actually get you scaled up to the server size that's appropriate to handle that. And then you'll see as traffic starts falling off, that you'll be able to have it drop back down and use it that way. But you could also think about it if you go, hey, I know the 30 days, maybe you've already been tracking this for years, I know the 30 days that we get hit, then you could just put that whole 30 days and go, like, we're gonna have it for this time frame, we're going to center all of our marketing around that period, and then use it through that time. But that allows you to mitigate the risk of having to, in a last minute kind of like dash, go back to the team and say, hey, we needed to have an upgrade, and we didn't do it because we weren't sure what the results were going to be like. This is just a much safer mode for doing that.
Love it. Great advice on being able to plan for the traffic that you'd anticipate, and know that you've got a host that's got your back to make sure that that's available, that's ready to go, and it's being performance optimized. One final kind of lightning round question. I'm just kind of curious, off the cuff. Out of you three, what is one of your favorite e-com stores? Where do you find yourself going to as you're thinking about that holiday time? Where are you going as one of your favorite e-com shops, and why?
I can go first. I don't have a favorite, but I am actually in the market for a new travel shoes, and this is quite niche. I have wide feet, so I have to look for something that's around a 2E size for wide feet, but I'm also a minimalist when it comes to wearing shoes, so it's much thinner sole and basically no heel drops.
Love it.
And I went through that experience yesterday of just searching the internet and looking for those particular online store. And it was so much easier when the site has great searching capabilities. Because there's these keywords I need to look in for that need to find the perfect shoes. The site with the search experience is so much helpful to narrow down to that one particular product and be able to buy it and then try them on. I can link one of the shoes I have. I found a really cool website. So if anybody's in store for, wide feet shoes, go for it.
There you go.
Yeah, just to echo what Win said, I don't know if I have a particular shop I could say. I have a ton of just like really nerdy like paraphernalia. Like in the back here, I've got like little action figures, I've got posters, all kinds of stuff like that. But I'm always searching for something specific, right? I'm like, okay, I need to add to my Marvel collection, I need to add to my DC collection, whatever it is at the time. And so being able to search for something specific and then find all of the products they have listed around whatever I'm passionate about at the moment is always going to make me much more likely to make a purchase there. So just always keep that in mind. Search is really powerful. Make sure you're utilizing it well.
I like it. Josh?
Man, you'll rarely ever see me without a hat on. And so I get fed so many hat ads. It's crazy. I don't know if it's a specific store, but it's their personalization, their ability to target somebody like me. So I think a lot about personalization right now with e-commerce. I think so important, and reaching across multiple platforms, to be honest, the ability to do that.
Love it. I think I've got to go with an Austin favorite, Huckberry. If any of you are interested in like outdoor gear, dad gear. I actually have some good trail running shoes when also for wide foot running as well. So and a good collection of hat gear as well. So it could cover some bases as well. So yeah, thank you everyone for being able to attend. Again, it feels like some kind of takeaways here. You know, make sure that your plans are performant. Make sure that you've got a good read on your overall application performance. That not only is the site up, but it's running well. And then also definitely take advantage of ecom tuning to make sure that you're all ready for those big traffic spikes or dips or whatever that performance may look like. Either way, we've got your back and would love to be able to dive in on even specific sessions. So thank you, panelists. Thank you, Harry, for joining, and we'll catch you all on the next one. Have a great Tuesday. See ya.